Jayuda, good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Abhinav.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Aryan. So, at what time do you come back from your school?
3:50,
Okay,
sometimes even 3:40.
depending upon your extra classes, also you might have, right?
No, ma'am, like our classes end at 3:30.
Hmm.
Then sometimes while going, it will take 10 minutes and 20 minutes. In generally 3:50.
Okay, okay. So, you don't have the extra classes and all after the school hours? Oh, escaped.
Ma'am, actually, there are for others, ma'am, like plus we call it CBSE clusters now, ma'am. There's are for sports, ma'am. In generally, those who don't get good marks, ma'am, they'll be
They
placed under
will.
remedials, ma'am, and they have to sacrifice their game spirit.
Okay, it means same everywhere. It is same.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and slowly and gradually, I think your game speed also will be taken away. Maybe by the month of October onwards and all.
Yes, ma'am. By October, they'll take it.
Yeah, correct. Fine, so let's wait for others also. The message.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Dada. Okay, children, turn on the video if they wanted. Let them join maybe after some time.
Ma'am,
So we will start. Maria Imaja Abhinav, turn on the video.
I'm 1 minute,
Okay.
I'm drinking coffee.
Okay. So last time we have discussed about the pollination, the types of the pollination, and how does the transfer of the anther will be, or the pollens will be there from the anther to the stigma, or we have discussed, right? The different agents also we have discussed, through the wind, through the water, through the bats, through the birds, through the insects. So all those things, and the words also we have discussed what they are called as. Now today, very important topic we'll be discussing, which is about the fertilization. So now what happened? The flower was there, the pollination happened, and after the pollination, those pollen grains, which is the male gamete, they have met to whom? They have met, they have reached actually to the female place, right? So the anther of the grains were the male part, and whereas the stigma was the female part. So ultimately now, after the pollination, those male gamete have been reached to where? The female part. Now, once I reach the female part, which is on the stigma, what they do, they will start forming the pollen tubes. Okay. So, through the pollen grains, so though the pollen grains are very small in size, but through the pollen grains, a tube like structure will come out, and that tube will start growing towards the ovary. Now, where the ovary is in the female, it's the first part, last part.
Last part.
Last. Okay, when we see about the from the top, it will be last part, right? Last basal part, swollen basal part. So as soon as the pollen landed there on the stigma, they cannot go anywhere. Why they cannot go anywhere? Because stigma, they are sticky in nature, so those stigma will be holding it tightly. And once they are holded by the stigma, those pollen grains, and it is not only one, so many will be actually landed there, so they will start forming the pollen tube. Fine. So these pollen tube, what they will be doing, they will grow in the size continuously. So initially, they will be, the pollen tube will be this much, then slowly this much, then this, like this. They will start moving towards the uh, ovary, and this happens because of the chemotropism. What is chemotropism? I think those who have started the control and coordination in the school, they might be knowing it. What is chemotropism?
They started, but we haven't reached there.
Okay, plants you have not studied yet, it means. Okay, chemo means chemicals. Okay, and tropism means the movement. Okay, tropism is nothing, but actually it is the movement of the plants because of the chemicals. So that is why we call them as a chemotropism. Fine. Anywhere if you read the word tropism, it means a movement of something. And here, what is the movement? The movement is because of the chemo. Chemo means chemical. So because of the chemical, because of chemotropism, what happened? The pollen tube will not go anywhere, but they'll start directly going towards the ovary part, and then finally reaches to where? To the ovule. Fine. So this happened because of the chemotropism. So that pollen tube will grow in size, and ultimately it'll reach to the pollen. It ultimately reach to the ovule. Now, what happened in this pollen tube? Instead of one, they have the two male gametes. Fine, generally they should have the one, but here in the plants, what do they have? They have the two male gametes, and one female gamete, which is called as the egg or the ovule, we call them, will be available there. Fine. So two male gametes will be there, one female gamete. Good evening. So what happened? Those two pollen tube will be there. Those two male gametes will be there in the pollen tube, and one female gamete will be already there where? In the center of that ovary, right? Now, out of these two male gametes, one male gamete will fuse with the one female gamete. And what is this process called as when the male and the female gametes fuse together?
Zygote.
Process name I'm asking you.
Pollination.
No, pollination is the transfer of the anther, like pollinates. Fusion of the male and female gamete is called as what? Children?
Fertilization.
Very good, RM. Fertilization. Okay. So out of those two male gametes, the one male gamete will reach to the one female gamete and fuse there. It means join together. And that process where one male gamete and one female gamete fuse together, that is called as the fertilization. Now, what happened? The second male gamete is still remaining, right? The second male gamete, which is still remaining, it will go and fuse with two polar nuclei. Now, what are polar nuclei? Basically, polar nuclei, they are the cells which are present inside the center part of the ovary. Fine. So, two polar nuclei will be present there in the center part of the ovary. So, second male gamete, what do? That second male gamete will fuse with these two polar nuclei together. Now, how many cells are there during this process?
Two.
I said two polar nuclei. So two are already there, right? And one male gamete. How many are there?
Three.
Three. Fine. So two were already there as a polar nuclei and one cell was a male gamete. So how many cells fused together? Three cells got fused together, and that is the reason this process is called as the triple fusion. Very, very important to define the triple fusion. So triple fusion is a process where the one of the male gamete will fuse with the two of the polar nuclei of the female gamete. So since three cells are involved, two cells are from the polar nuclei and one is from the male gamete. That is why these three cells together, their fusion together is called as a triple fusion. Clear? And children, others also can turn on the video. I can see only Aryan. Ionija, what happened? Sumukh, Shubhansh, hurry up. Again, I'll explain you. This topic is very, very important. Definitely every year the question comes from this part actually. So either they will be asking you to write the step by step the process, or either they will be asking you to define the triple fusion or the fertilization. So as soon as the pollination happens, those pollen grains will be there on the stigma. The stigma is sticky in nature. Then when pollen grain reaches to the stigma, they start forming the pollen tube. Each pollen tube contain how many male gametes? Two. Fine, two male gametes are there in the pollen tube, and those pollen tube will grow and it will go towards the ovary because of the chemotropism. Fine, because of the chemical present there, they start getting attracted towards them. They start moving towards them. Then out of those two male gametes in the pollen tube, one male gamete will fuse with the one female gamete, which is called as fertilization. And the second male gamete, which is remaining there, they will go and fuse with the two polar nuclei. And since three cells fuse together, the process is called as a triple fusion. And this whole process where the triple fusion is happening and the fertilization is happening is called as double fertilization. Why it is called as double fertilization? Because in the first time, the male and the female gametes, they are fusing together. That is the first fertilization is happening, right? In second time, the polar nuclei is fusing with the second male gamete. Again, the fertilization is happening. So since the twice the fertilization is happening, this whole process is called as the double fertilization. Am I clear, Abhinav, Ionija, Aryan?
Yes.
Fine. So see, nothing to worry about this. If you know how many gametes are there, with whom they are fusing, and how many times they are fusing, that is why it is important. So it's very easy. One male gamete with the one female gamete, which is called as fertilization. Then second male gamete with two polar nuclei. Since three cells are involved in this, it is called as triple fusion. And if they ask you why it is called as double fertilization, it is called as double fertilization because twice the fertilization is happening. Once with the one male gamete and the one female gamete, and second time with the one male gamete with the two polar nuclei. So twice the fertilization is happening. That is why it is called as the double fertilization. Fine. So after this process, whole process, what happened? The ovary, which is the outer part of the female, that will be converted into the fruit. Fine. The ovary will be converted into the fruit, and the ovule, which is present in the center, will be converted into the seed part of the fruit. Fine. That is why, generally you might be able to see in any kind of the foods and all, you will be able to see two things. The fruit will be there, the fleshy part. At the same time, you will have the seed also. So it is because the ovule always gets converted into seeds and the ovary gets converted always into the fruits. That is why both the things you will be able to see. Sumukh, Sudhamshu, any doubt?
No. No, ma'am.
Sudhamshu, Shubhansh, Dhairya, Ionija?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay, so we'll write about this now. And this is very, very, very important, children, for 5 marks question. So make sure that you learn this. Okay, so okay. So the heading will write as the double fertility. Yeah, tell me.
Nothing.
The screen is visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the heading will be double fertilization. See, they can give you double fertilization or they can give you as a fertilization in plants also. So both the ways it is same. The answer will be same. But generally for the plants, they usually write it as a double fertilization in plants. So read the question carefully whether they are asking fertilization in humans or whether they are asking fertilization in plants. So the first step will be after pollination, pollen grain on the stigma germinate. So what they will do, the pollen grains will start germinating and grows a pollen tube. So they start growing the pollen tube downwards through the style. So downwards through the style to the ovary. So here, like if I make this diagram, like this you will have, right? So here, this is the top part, which is the stigma. The center part, this is the style. And the last part, this is the ovary. Now what happened? As soon as the pollen grains will be landing here, suppose here they are landing. So slowly and gradually, this pollen grains, what they'll do, they will start forming the pollen tube like this. So initially this pollen tube will be like this, but slowly and gradually they will grow in the size and then they start moving like this towards the ovary. And inside this, what will be there? The two gametes. So like this, two gametes, male gametes will be there inside them. So this is what the first point. So write this, then we'll move to the second point.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we'll move to the next point now.
Wait, ma'am.
Okay. And here you can just write in the bracket about the chemotropism also, so that you should not forget the word chemotropism. So mention this word chemotropism also. Done? Yes, there are Sumu, Karan,
Wait, ma'am. Wait.
Abhinav. Okay.
Last line.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now in the next one, in the next step, what happened as mentioned? Two non-motile two non-motile gametes are formed. So inside this pollen tube, what will be there? Non-motile. What do you mean by non-motile?
Not moving.
Yeah, cannot move, right? They cannot move. They are the non-motile. So that is the reason the pollen tube will be helping to reach through the destination. So if they ask you in the question what kind of the male gametes they are non-motile gametes which are formed inside the tube during its growth through the style. Then the next point, after reaching the ovary, pollen tube enters the ovule through the micropyle. So micropyle basically it is the opening, and through this opening the pollen tube will go into the ovule, inside the ovule. The next point, the tip of the tube finally pierces the
What is micropyle?
micropyle is the opening which is present in the ovule and through which the pollen tube will go inside it.
Open.
So the tip of the tube finally pierces the micropyle end. So finally, through that micropyle end, what happened? The pollen tube will be reaching into the ovule, and then they will be releasing the male gamete there. I'll just move back. Just let me complete this point. And ruptures releasing two male gametes. So as soon as what happened, as soon as they reach there, the micropyle end, they will be rupturing the, because of which the pollen tube will break down. Rupture means breakdown. So pollen tube will break down, and because of which the two male gametes will get released into the embryo sac. So inside the ovule, they will get released. So complete this, then we'll go to the next point. Done, children?
Done.
Yes, ma'am, done. Done, ma'am.
Yes, Abhinav, Aryan, Ayunija, Dhairya, Sumukh, done?
Yes,
Completed,
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So after this, the next point is,
No, ma'am.
okay. So after once the both the male gametes will rupture, then after this, what happened during the act of fertilization? So because of the fertilization, one male gamete fuses with the egg. So one male gamete will be fuses with the egg to form the diploid zygote. Now, children, what is diploid zygote? What is diploid?
ma'am. But one male gamete and one female gamete fuse together to form zygote.
What is diploid? Here, the word is diploid. What does it
Two.
mean?
Two, ma'am.
Two sets of chromosome. Okay, so two sets of chromosomes basically. So how the two sets of chromosomes will be there? One from the male and one from the female, and both they have joined together to form the zygote. That is why it is called as diploid. So since the chromosomes are there from the male also and from the female also, it has two sets of chromosomes. So hence called as diploid zygote. And this process is also called as syngamy. Is called syngamy. Very, very important. What is syngamy? Syngamy is nothing. It's like the fertilization of the male and the female gamete, or the fusion of the male and female gamete. And sometimes it is also called as generative fertilization. It is also called as generative fertilization. I'll give you the time, children, just 1 minute. Let me complete this. And in the same point, it will be that the diploid zygote will be converted into the embryo finally. Finally develops into an embryo. And the second male gamete, the other male gamete, because two were there, right? One got fused with the male female gamete, and one is remaining. So the other male gamete fuses with two polar nuclei. Two polar nuclei to form the triploid. What is triploid? Three sets of chromosome. Okay, it will have 3n, which is three sets of chromosomes. And this process is called as triple fusion. So as I've already explained you, since two cells of the polar nuclei are there and two cells of one cell of the male gamete is there, since three cells are there, it is called as triple fusion, and also it is called as vegetative fertilization. It is also called as vegetative fertilization. Then after this mechanism, it has how many types of fertilization? Two fertilizations are there. So since this mechanism involves two acts of fertilization. So here two fertilizations are happening. Twice the fertilization is happening in the embryo sac And that is the reason it is called as double fertilization in the embryo sac, and hence it is called as double fertilization. And at last, the ovary develops or converted into a fruit, and whereas ovule gets converted into seed on maturation. So once the ovule they are mature, they will be converting themselves into the seed. So that's about it. So now you can note this down, the whole process, how it happens. So which page should I share it? This one or this one?
Ma'am,
This
once
one.
can you show the next page?
Ma'am,
Next
this
page or
one.
this page?
Next page.
I'm writing this one.
Sumuk, you are writing this one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we'll go back first of all, and then I'll go to this one, next one. Okay, let Aaron complete it. Once children you are done with this page, let me know. Keep this word in mind, generative fertilization, which is called as syngamy, and then triple fusion, which is called as a vegetative fertilization. So they can ask the difference between syngamy and triple fusion, or they can ask you the difference between generative or vegetative fertilization, or they can ask you to write directly about the double fertilization. So in this, both the process, you should write it.
Completed, ma'am.
Okay.
Done, ma'am.
Aaron done. Others also have done.
Ma'am, wait, ma'am.
Shall we go to the next one, Aryan?
Last point ready, ma'am, please.
Okay.
Completed, ma'am.
Ma'am, when is
Yes.
class end?
6:25. So on the basis of this topic, sexual reproduction in plants, I will be sending you the worksheet, and that worksheet will have the previous year questions. So whatever questions they have asked in the year 2016, 17, 18, 2012, 13. So those some of the questions I have selected, and just children try to solve it and send it. Okay. So you'll get the idea actually in what way do they ask you the questions. Fine. So I'll be sending it on the WhatsApp as well as I'll be uploading on the Wise app. So that will be the homework for the today, that you need to complete the previous year question from this topic. And so we are done with this part. Now we will be starting from the next week onwards, which is the sexual reproduction in the animals, like in humans. So we will be learning in that about the male reproductive system, the female reproductive system, then about the fertilization, how the fertilization is happening, about the sex determination. No, sex determination we will be learning in the heredity chapter. So about the fertilization we will be learning. Then what are the kind of the barriers we can use to control the pregnancy, or we can say birth control methods we will be learning, and reproductive health. So why the reproductive health of a person is important, and how we can save a person from from getting those diseases during the reproduction or sexual intercourse time. So these various topic we'll be discussing, and I think now I'll be requiring 2 weeks to complete that part, which means 4 classes I'll be completing. And once I complete this chapter, I'll be going to the chapter. We'll see next week. We'll see which chapter we want to go for then.
Heredity, ma'am.
Heredity. Okay, no problem. We can go for the heredity. Heredity will not take much time because it's very small chapter. Just 3-4 topics are there. Monohybrid, dihybrid. Laws also you have. Laws you have. Then monohybrid, dihybrid. Why the Mendel have selected those pea plant as a character. Then sex determination. So hardly 3-4 topics are there. So not much time it requires. No problem. We'll start that. Okay, children. I hope like you all have written this.
Yes, ma'am.
So any doubt, children, if you have, you can ask.
No doubts, ma'am.
No, ma'am, no doubts.
Rizwana, do you have any doubt?
No, ma'am.
Most easiest chapter, Sumuk, is the environment, actually, our environment. And the hardest chapter, I don't feel any chapter is hard. I can say they are actually medium level chapters. Easiest is the our environment chapter, and all other chapters are the medium level chapters. So no tough chapters. You can say topic, some topic might be tough for you. Like if I talk about the brain topic might be tough for you. If I talk about maybe the nephron structure, that might be tough for you. But chapters are medium level, not complicated. So whatever I have taught you, if you learn that, is more than sufficient actually. But the thing is that you need to learn it.
Okay.
Okay, Sumuk. Okay, children, then thank you. And make sure whatever the questions I'll send you now after the class as a homework, you do it. Fine. So
Okay.
those are the previous year questions.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, children. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
ma'am. Bye,
Okay.
ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.
Thank
Thank you.
you, ma'am.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Bye.
Arvind. Bye-bye.